A triangle shown has the hypotenuse. Remember, these are ACT questions. These come from this Princeton Review ACT test practice book. So if we look at this, you got 60 minutes, 60 questions. So just keep that in mind as we go through here. The triangle shown below has a hypotenuse with a length of 13 feet, given to you in the diagram. The measure of angle A is 20, given to you in the diagram. The measure of angle B is 70, given to you in the diagram. Which of the following is closest? There's one key thing you want to look for when you're reading through it, is it does say closest, so don't try to find the exact. To the length in feet of BC. As you look at that, first thing that you know is the longest side in that triangle is going to be what? 13. So can you cross out anything? E. You can definitely cross out E. Now they give you some information. They say the sine of 70 is 0.9397. They tell you what the cosine of 70 is, and they tell you what the tangent of 70 is. What they want to know is what is the length of BC. So this is what I am looking for. Based off of information they give you, they're giving you values for 70. They say that the ACT test can be done without a calculator. If you use this information, you could do it without a calculator. If you're going to use your calculator, I don't care if you use 70 degrees or 20 degrees. If I use 70 degrees, what side is X? This is the adjacent, and I know that 13 is the hypotenuse. So that deals with which value? Cosine. So the cosine of 70 degrees is equal to X over 13. Now before, what you worked with yesterday on that worksheet is you were using the hand. But we don't have to. Right now, what were to happen if I put this over 1? What would you do to solve? Cross multiply and divide. I would type it in your calculator as 13 times the cosine of 70. If I look at the cosine of 70, the cosine of 70 is 0.3 something. They tell you that, which means it's less than half. Half of 12 or half of 13 is what? 6.5. That rules out those two as being possible choices, right? So anyway, you could do this without your calculator. So now you sit there and you calculate, well, you could take 0.342 times 13 and calculate it. What's it look like it's going to be?
4.446.
4.426. The closest one is A. A is your answer.
4.44.
4. Oh yeah. Thank you. I can't add. I was just getting to my answer. 4.44. So your answer is A. You could do it without your calculator. If not, can you type that in on your calculator and hopefully get 4.4? Yeah. What else could you do? If they didn't give you this, you would need your calculator. You could use the sine of 20 degrees is equal to X over 13, right? How would you type that in? 13 times the sine of 20. Type 13 times the sine of 20 on your calculator and you should get 4.4.
You also find the cosine of 70 just by typing cosine 70.
On your calculator? Yeah, that's what I said right here. You could just type in 13 times cosine of 70 on your calculator. They do that for you right here. 0.3420. Yeah. Question.
She probably knows most of the questions over, so yeah. Like, can't wait. Is there an age limit that you can take it?
I don't think
Is there an age limit you can take it?
What if all of a sudden I was a non-traditional student and decided to go to college? Would they require me to take an ACT test just like they do you?
No.
But Jake said like they put counting after your senior year.
It's only for incoming freshmen that are fresh out of college. I don't want to pay $60 to find out, but I do know that I did take Lindsay's when because I got a copy of hers back, and I did take hers. That's pretty confident and all.
I
gotta look the questions where it's on that. I got a 1 on the I got a 14.
All right, as shown in the figure below, well, I corrected all the ones she missed. I told her how to do them. So, as shown in the figure below, with angles is marked, a ramp is being designed that will have a vertical height of 4 feet. Which of the following is closest? Once again, they give you that closest to the horizontal length of the ramp. All right, they give you your 30 degrees right here. That's a triangle we know, 30, 60, 90 triangle. And if I know this, and I'm looking for this, what trig function? Tangent. So the tangent of 30 degrees is equal to what? 4 over x. What is the tangent of, well, here, you can do this one on your calculator as well. We worked with using our hand trick. What is the tangent of 30?
1 over radical 3.
1 over radical 3. So you're going to take 4 times radical 3. Radical 3 is pretty close to what value?
It's like close to 5.
It's between 1 and 2. It's close to 2 because that's pretty close to the square root of 4, which is 2. So it's close to 2, which would give you what answer, probably?
I put like 1.5 times 4.
They have to get your radical 3.
That'd be B. I don't know how I got A, obviously.
Oh, you're changing it 60 or 30.
30. Yep. I mean, now you're going to run into a little bit of question there. If you're taking 4 times 2, you would get 8, but it's not quite that much. So you're going to say, is it closer to C or D? It's probably going to be one of those 2 questions, and Seaver's going to answer C, and Seaver's going to get it right. But you get to use your calculator. If I use my calculator for this one, put this over 1, what would you do?
I typed in the tangent of 30 divided by 4.
You went the wrong way. Because if I put this over 1 and you cross multiply and divide, it should be 4 divided by the tangent of 30. Somebody type that in on their calculator for me. What did you get? It might be in the wrong mode. Make sure it's in.
I'll check it.
I'll grab here.
It says syntax error.
Uh-oh.
What's yours?
4
Yes.
divided by the tangent of 30. I get 6.9282.
Wait, 4 divided by the tangent of 30.
I got
Yes.
2.3809.
Are you in radian mode or
I
are you in
multiplied
degree
it. I
mode?
multiplied it.
Oh.
Okay, yeah. What'd you get?
6.9282.
But do we get these for tomorrow? Calculators?
I'm not quite for sure yet.
Oh, I hope we do. Sorry, no, it's gonna be fine. Cosine stuff on there.
So how do you?
Oh, no. I was thinking about you were talking about here.
Oh,
No, you do not there.
darn.
So when you use the cross multiply and divide, you get 4 radical 3, right?
Yep. So you could type 4 radical 3 in on your calculator. You're going to divide that by 1, but just type in 4 radical 3, and you get 6.9282. So that is closest to C, which is 7. All right, so I'll try to do this worksheet up here so that they can still see it. All right, the very first one, I think you can get this one without any problems. We did this one before, I'm pretty sure. So given the triangle, this is number 1, the very first one where you have angle F, A, and G. And they give you the side lengths of 9, 12, 15. Some of you are already going to recognize what type of a triangle that is. It's a 3, 4, 5 triangle. So as you look at it, they ask you for the sine of angle A. What is the sine of angle A? Here's angle A. Sine is what sides? Opposite over hypotenuse, which is 9/15, which reduces down to 3/5. So if you look at the cosine of angle A, what is the cosine of angle A? Which is 12 over 15, which is 4 over 5.
Can you find the angle?
If you were asked to find the angle, what would you have to do? You'd have to use your calculator.
How would you type that?
You would type it in like this. (36.87 degrees). Yes, you could. So then you go to the tangent. What do you know about the tangent of angle A? Which is? Now after that, what do they ask you for? The cosecant. And what do you know about the cosecant? It's the reciprocal of sine. So I could just put down that that's going to have a value of 5/3. And if you want to put down that it's going to be 15 over 9 and then reduce it, that's okay. Then you are asked to find the secant of angle A, which is the reciprocal of cosine, which gives you a value of 5 over 4. Then you are asked to find the cotangent of angle A, which is the reciprocal of tangent, which would be 4 over 3. Now what's going to happen with the next two triangles for number 1? Yep, every single answer is going to be the same as you go across. Yes. There's one up here that you guys always hear when you are in whatever classes. Yes. So number 2 says use a calculator. You need your calculator. You just type in the tangent of 24. Well, don't lose your charger. Don't let it lay because people like to take it. Round to the nearest thousands. How many place values is that? 3.
I'm not saying that's what it is.
He's saying that's what the thousandths.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I got.
What about the sine of 30? You know that one already from your hand. That's 0.5. If you use a calculator instead of 1/2, you're going to get 0.5. So this is just 0.5. If you round, maybe they want the 2 zeros. So you got to put your 2 zeros on there. Cosine. Cosine of 55.
Wait, this is just on B? That only be one significant figure?
It depends on the calculations, and I actually do not know significant digits when you actually use the operations
So,
of
but like the answer,
sine,
for
cosine,
significant
tangent.
figures are the answer. That's just one, right? The 2 zeros are.
I would say it's 1. But that's what I would say. But I do know that physics rules are different from chemistry rules.
Yeah. I think it is though.
Because I used to teach the physics significant digit rules, and they were different than the chemistry.
But this must be after
The next one. Secant of 72. Here's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to type in the cosine. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine, right? So you have to type in the cosine of 72, and then you're going to get an answer on your calculator. I don't know what that calculator value is. But the next thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to find that key that looks like what? X to the negative 1. So you hit that key, and then you get your answer because you need the reciprocal of it. Or you could do 1 divided by the answer that you get from before. And you should get a value of 3.236. So how are you going to type in the cotangent of 52? You're going to type the tangent of 52, and then you have to hit the x to the negative 1 key. .781. Cosecant of 40, what are you going to type in on your calculator? The sine of 40, and then you hit the reciprocal key. .556. Are you getting those?
Yeah.
Question number 3. Question number 3, what are they looking for? They say the exact value. Just your fractions. When you get to number 4, what do they want? Just the fractions. So come up with the fractions that you're going to have. However, when you look at number 4, what I want to point out to number 4 is they draw a triangle for you. And they tell you the tangent of angle A is equal to 9/12. What does that mean?
It means the offset is 9 and the adjacent is 12.
Very good. The opposite is 9, the adjacent is 12. Which, if you think about it, that is what type of a triangle? 3, 4, 5 triangle. So what is the hypotenuse of that triangle? 15. Yep, it says the tangent of A. Yes, please. And then I also want you to calculate the ones on the bottom. But those, they want the exact value. They want the radical form. You're looking for the finger trick on the bottom for number 5. Do not use a calculator and put it in decimal form. They want the exact. So you got to tell me if it's radical 3 over 2, if it's radical 3, if it's radical 2 over 2. That piece of information. Secant looks like cosine spelled backwards with a different vowel. So flip to the very, very last page.
I like the back.
Find the last, okay, the front of the back. Unit circle worksheet C. The given point P is located on a unit circle. A unit circle means it's a circle with what?
4 quadrants.
You will have 4 quadrants, but the radius is 1. It's a circle with a radius of 1, and that's where that's what allows us to do all of this. Is the radius is going to be 1. Okay, so state the quadrant and find the angle. Now they don't have a spot there that actually says and find the angle. And then you need to find sine, cosine, tangent. So the first thing that they give you is point P, and they say it has a value of -1/2 and radical 3 over 2. So if I were to think about what quadrant that's in, because that's the first thing that it states for you, is it says what is the quadrant. So if I were to find the quadrant, I want to go back a half and up 3, radical 3 over 2. So I'm going to go to the left and up. What quadrant is that in? That's the second quadrant. So your quadrant is the second quadrant. They use Roman numerals. Now it says, what is the angle measure? Well, we think of the bow tie effect, which says that you're going to draw this down to the x-axis, right? Here's what I want. You want cosine, comma, sine. And Eric already told us what that is. You want cosine to be 1 over 2, right? So you're going to fold in this finger. What is that finger? 60 degrees. So I know this is a 60-degree angle, but what is the actual angle measure they are talking about to get you? 60 degrees doesn't put you in that second quadrant. So what they want is 120 degrees. But then they ask you for the sine of the angle. Well, the sine of 120, what you need to worry about is that 60-degree reference angle. Well, we have it right up here. What is the sine of it? Radical 3 over 2. In that quadrant, what do you know about sine? Sine refers to the y value, and y is positive there. Then they want the cosine of your angle. Well, what is the cosine of your angle? Negative 1 over 2. It's negative because you think of all students take calculus. But your cosine value is just right there, negative 1/2. Then they ask you for the tangent of that angle. Well, you could take sine, which is radical 3 over 2, and divide by cosine, but that looks like a mess, right? So why not just take your fingers? What was that reference angle? 60 degrees. So you fold in 60 degrees. What is the tangent? Radical 3. So it's the square root of 3, but then you have to worry, is it positive or negative? What about tangent in that second quadrant? It's negative, so you end up with negative 3 for an negative radical 3 for an answer.
They don't understand. It's not. You have Wilson behind you go like this.
And I think that's what she was probably talking to Jackson about is, And I stand up here and I'm like, sometime when they ask me a question, I'm just going to start talking to somebody else and ignore them like they do to me when I'm up here teaching half the time. I'll just start drawing pictures and I'll just start talking, laughing. Move! Move!
Oh! I felt like an excuse to me. Yeah, as Mike would say.
Where else would you move? You just say, take your desk and move it right in front of Steve.
I think Wilson will move it.
The next one says P is the coordinate point 0, -1. All right, so what do?
What's cosine?
So it has to be.
So it's 90 degrees.
Where's the point 0, -1? 0, -1. Right there's the point 0, -1. What quadrant is that?
Quadrant 3.
No,
No, it's not in the quadrant.
it's not in a quadrant. What is the degree measure?
90. Oh, 270.
It's 270 degrees. Because remember, you start here at 0, 90, 180, 270, 360. What else could that possibly be?
-90.
-90 degrees.
Yeah.
But I think we want to go with the positive angle measures. All right, so now they ask you, remember, we mentioned something. What's this? X, Y is the same thing as? Cosine sine, the same thing as your fingers. So you look at it and they ask you, the next question they ask you is, what is the sine of theta? What's the sine of theta?
What's theta?
Theta's that symbol right there.
Oh, that's like a frat.
It is, because what's that?
That's a Greek symbol.
It's a Greek symbol.
Oh, it's that dude.
It's like all Chinese people. Yeah, it's all pages.
It's sine. Hey, that's being recorded. The sine of theta. What about the sine of theta? What's the sine of your angle? What's the sine of 270 degrees? -1. It's right there. What is the cosine of theta? 0. What is the tangent of theta? Oh, what angle measure is it? 90.
Over 0.
Over 0.
Zero.
It's radical 4, which is 2 over 0, but what do you know about that? That's not okay. So it is
Oh, snap.
undefined.
I was thinking 0 divided by 1, -1.
No, the other way. It's sine over cosine.
Oh, it is? Okay.
You think about it, and here's tangent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. What gives you opposite? Sine over cosine. So you have -1 over 0, which is undefined. You can't have it. So you go to number 3. Could you do number 3 on your own now?
Wait, Mr. Chen, on that last one,
Yes?
where did the 2 come from again?
I was using my hand. So
Oh, that's
90,
right,
and when you
radical
flip it,
4.
it's the square root of 4. Yep. And then you had 0 fingers below that thumb. So you get radical 2 over 2 and negative radical 2 over 2. So you think about where you're going to draw that. Where's that going to end up? The third quadrant. You go negative, negative. It's in the third quadrant. You want radical 2 over 2. So which finger do you have to fold in to get that? Your 45-degree angle. So we talk about the quadrant you're in. What quadrant is that? 3. The quadrants go like this. 1, 2, 3. Because you plot that point. You go back and down. It's negative and negative.
Is it 22, 25?
Because it's a 45-degree reference angle right there. And what you have is you do have 180 plus 45. So you are correct. Your angle measure is going to be a 225-degree angle. Now, what is the sine? Negative radical 2 over 2. What is the cosine?
Do you have to put the negative sign?
You do. Yep. Because they don't want a 60 degrees. They want a 225. It is negative radical 2 over 2. And the tangent, radical 2 over radical 2, which is 1. And then you keep in mind it's all students take calculus. So tangent is positive. So it's positive 1.
So much
All students take calculus. Tangent's the only thing that's positive in that quadrant. All are positive in the first, sine is positive in the second, tangent is the only one positive in the third, and cosine is the only one positive in the fourth.
Also positive because you put negative radical 2 over negative.
You're correct, because you have a negative over a negative, which is a positive. Yep. That's why. That's why tangent is positive there, Eric, is for what you just said. You're taking a negative dividing by a negative. So that's positive. When in this quadrant, you're taking, in the second quadrant, you're taking a negative divided by a positive. Well, actually, you're taking a positive divided by a negative. Sine over cosine. Now, on the worksheet for yesterday, some of you still struggled with something like this.
I know what you're talking about now. Well, I cannot be done.
The one that was due yesterday. I checked it yesterday afternoon, and then I put them in your lockers.
I'll be the science. I'll be the science. I'll be the science. I'll be the science.
You wanted to get him to get done.
I'll be the science. So that's why I can check it.
What do you do when you get to a problem like this?
You gotta split.
What is it measured in, first of all?
Pi.
Which is what? Not degrees, but radian measure. Radian measure. So we look at it, and pi is the same thing as what? So pi is the same thing as 180, and if I divide that by 4, what are you going to get? 45 degrees. So if I have 7 of them, there's different ways you could do this. If I take 45 times 7, you get 315 degrees. So what quadrant are you in?
The fourth,
You're in the fourth quadrant,
which is makes it positive.
which makes it cosine is going to be positive answer. Otherwise, all I need to know is that 45 right there. What is the cosine of 45 degrees?
Radical 2.
Radical 2 over 2. And it will be positive. If you want, you could come up with your 45-degree angles. So you have 45, another 45 is 90, and then you could go with 225, not 225, wrong quadrant. 135, then you could go with 180, 225, then you could go with 270.
And you always have to find the both.
3/5 tie and 360. It's got to be the bow tie. It's got to be this.
Yeah, no.
You don't want to wear your bow tie like this. It's got to be like this. So here's your bow tie. There's your reference angles. The reference angles are marked for you right now in your bow tie. So you have 7 of them. So some of you are going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's going to put me in that 4th quadrant. Some of you did it by, some of you may do it this way to figure out what quadrant you're in. It's up to you. Some count. Some figure out what that is. What about the next one? Number 5 says the sign of -30. What's that -30 mean?
It's in the second part. No. Third. Yeah, third quadrant.
It's in the second, isn't it? Oh,
-30.
I was on the
You're going to go down to a negative is going down is a bad thing. So you're going to go down 30 degrees. So in this quadrant, what do you know about sine? In the 4th quadrant, it's negative. What is the sine of 30? You get -1/2.
Okay, good. Because I just did sine 30. And then well, I checked it. So I calculated, check it.
Let's look at number 7.
Oh, this is really good.
Number 7 says the cosine of 600. So what you do? Subtract 360. If you subtract 360, you are left with 240. Why do I need to know that?
Well, because you go all the way around the circle.
You're correct. 600 degrees, if I start here, let me do a different color. So you're going to start at 0 degrees, and you're going to go around once, which is how many degrees? 360. And if I keep on going, I got to go until I get to 240. So if you just subtract that 360, then you got an additional 240 that you're going to have to go around. So your reference angle is what? 60 degrees. Some of you may subtract 180 from that, the top half of your circle, to give you your 60-degree reference angle. Now, do not say, oh, yeah, 240 plus another 30 is going to be 270, because then you're wearing your bow tie like this. You have to find the other one. I mean, you could find 30 pretty easily and then say, oh, this is 90 degrees in that quadrant, so that's got to be 60. You could do that if that's what you want to do, but do not find the cosine of 30 degrees. Cosine is what in that quadrant? It's negative. And the cosine is 60 degrees is 1/2.
Like, what's it? Right on the starting spot.
Oh. So number 13. Is it cosine?
Yeah.
Cosine of 1440. So I got to figure out what quadrant it's in, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go around once. If I go around once, that means I subtract 360. And that's going to give you 1080. Then what do you got to do?
Subtract another. Oh, it's
Subtract
cosine.
another 360.
So it's just 1.
And then you subtract another 360. And that's 360. And if you subtract 360, you get 0. So that means that your location is right
There.
there.
Cosine is X.
So that coordinate point is 1, 0.
Yeah, which is
Cosine is your first value, and what is it going to be? 1.
you want to hold on to this?
Yes, please. Can you finish it?
Yeah.